Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to this week's Parashah Torah portion, which is called Beshalach, when he let go. Then it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest perhaps the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. Exodus 13:17. In last week's study, after the last and most devastating of the 10 plagues, death of the firstborn, Pharaoh finally relented and letting the Israelites go free. This week, however, the Parashah Beshalach, Pharaoh changes his mind and races after them to bring them back into slavery. Thinking they are lost in the wilderness, Pharaoh seemingly traps them against the Red Sea. There is no escape. But God marvelously splits the water so that his people pass through on dry land, while the Egyptians drown behind them. In relief and thankfulness to God for this amazing victory over those who wished to enslave them, Moshe and the Israelites sing a beautiful song called Shirat Hayim, the Song of the Sea. Some also call it as Yeshir Moshe, then Moses sang, which are the first words of the Song of the Sea, Exodus 15:1. This song recited daily as part of the Shekaret morning prayer service. It is written in the unequal wave or brick-like pattern in the Torah scroll and is recited in regular chat and traditional melodies. In the true humility, this song gives no glory to the leadership of Moshe or praises to the people for the faith it took to walk between the walls of water, but totally gives the glory and praises to the Lord. I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horses and drivers he has hurled into the sea. Exodus 15:1. This song of Moshe is perhaps also mentioned in the Brit Hadashah, New Testament, as a song that will be sung by those who defeat the beast in the end times. However, this time they will be singing by the sea of glass instead of the Red Sea and holding harps instead of tamarines. Those defeating the beast, its image, and the number of its name were standing by the sea of glass, holding harps which God had given them. They were singing the song of Moshe, the, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Great and wonderful are the things you have done, Adonai God of heaven's armies. Revelation 15:2 and 3. Moshe's sister Miriam also goes out with the maidens, and they dance for joy with tamarines. Because of these songs, this week's parashah is called Shabbat Shiri, Sabbath of singing. Besides reading the Song of the Sea and the Song of Miriam on Shabbat Shari, some have the custom of feeding the birds in honor of the beautiful melodies that they sing, and perhaps the manna that was found on the ground by the Israelites in this reading. This is, of course, unusual in that wild birds are generally not fed on the Shabbat. Only designated birds such as geese and chickens may be fed. The Talmud explains that the Shabbat should not be broken by feeding animals that can fend for themselves, although there is a responsibility to feed the pets and uh, demonstrate designated animals that are under your care. The half Torah reading, the Song of Deborah. Both of the Torah portion and the half Torah, pathetic portion, of this week's study contains victory songs of God's people. In the parashah, the Israelites sing the song of the sea, extolling and honoring God and delivering them from Egypt. In the half Torah, the Song of Deborah is sung when God gives them victory over General Sisera and Canaanites. Then Deborah and Barak, the son of Benami, sang on the day, saying, when leaders lead the Israel, when the people willing offer themselves, bless the Lord. Hear, O king, give ear, O praises. I even will sing to the Lord. I will sing the praise to the Lord God of Israel. Judges 5:1-3. In the Song of the Sea, only God receives praises and glory, while in the Song of Deborah, the actions of valiant men and women are also praised. There are several other connections between the Torah portion and this pathetic portion of the book of Judges. In both accounts of Israel, victorious victories and enemies had assembled against them in chariots, but God threw their enemies into the panic. Also, in both the parashah and the half Torah, Israel's enemies were swept away in the water, and the women celebrated by singing and dancing. Music is a beautiful Music is beautiful. God given gift to his people. Sadly, many of the world mis, 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 many of the world misuse this gift to glorify the powers of darkness with vulgarity, vulgarity and promiscuity, or the promotion of violence and death. However, we can use the gift of song to praise Adonai for the goodness and mercy. Our response to the victories that God brings us in our lives can be freely expressed with rejoicing, with singing, and with dancing, just as Moshe, Miriam, and Deborah did. Awake, awake, Deborah, awake, awake. Sing a song, arise, Barak, and lead your captives away, O son of Abrorim. Abraman. Judges 5:12. The long way home. The Hebrew word Beshalach, the name of this parashah, means when he sent. Pharaoh didn't simply let the people go, he sent the Israelites away. When he did, God did not lead them on the straightest, most direct route to their promised land, which would have taken them through Philistine territory and into the certain battle. Instead, he led them around and through the Red Sea of Yam Surf, literally Sea of Reeds. Why didn't God take them on the quickest route and into battle? The rabbis answer this with a story of a man who purchased a cow and takes her home and produce milk for his family, not to kill her for her meat. Because the slaughterhouse is on the path of his home, he takes her on a longer, more roundabout route so that she will not smell the blood house from the slaughterhouse and try to escape his care. Seemingly, God did not want the Israelites to go through the Philistine territory and immediately encountered a war, lest they lose heart in God's protective care and run back to Egypt. Likewise, God might not take you on the most direct route to fulfilling your destiny. Instead, he just might take you out of the way a bit, proving his magnificent love for you by parting a sea on the way or lightening your path during a time of darkness. With that first hand experience of God's presence, your faith will be made stronger to sustain you in the trials that will certainly come to you further down the road. Still, as with any relationship, it takes more than one great experience with God to know who He is and to understand His character, intelligence, intensity, and love. So sometimes the journey of our destiny is more than roundabout, it is the long way. This truth is evident at the Red Sea, even though the Israelites experienced walking out of Egypt with the spoils of the land and their firstborn sons still alive. That was not enough to claim their fears for long on the way to the promised land. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. Exodus 14:10. The Israelites' reaction when they saw Pharaoh pursuing them confirms that they were not yet ready for battle. The frightened Israelites did the right thing when their fear they cried out to God. Then they did the wrong thing. They blamed Moshe for bringing them out of Egypt, only to be eliminated by Pharaoh's soldiers. They considered it better to have been left to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. Exodus 14:11. Sometimes, when moving on the path to greater freedom, we may encounter fearful challenges and wish we had just stayed where we were, no matter how painful or uncomfortable that old place felt. Nevertheless, moving ahead means facing new challenges and seeing God's power demonstrated as we overcome them. Moshe reassured the Israelites that God would fight their battles for them and they would only need to hold their peace. But Moshe said to the people, "Do not fear, stand by the sea of salvation of the Lord, which he is accomplished for you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you will never see them again forever. The Lord will fight for you while you keep silent." Exodus 14:13, 14. The Israelites had a dominion dilemma, or whatever. Sorry if I pronounce a word or two. Just didn't pronounce it right. They were trapped between a big sea and an angry Egyptian army, and Moshe told them to keep silent. That silence involved a choice. One, on one hand, they could keep silent, hear the approaching chariots, and surrender to them in overwhelming fear and helplessness. On the other hand, they could keep silent, for God's direction to move forward, uh, Kedma, and obey him. And the Lord said to Moshe, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward." Exodus 14:15. Their silence was not meant to be passive, it involved action. So after we are told to wait upon the Lord, and we often this to mean accept this to mean do nothing. It is true that there are times when we must find the patience to simply do nothing but wait until God shows us His direction. However, there are also times when God says move forward, and those times are we are to raise up the minded bended knee in a horrific faith and go. God has wonderful blessings and victorious victories in store for us if we would only take the first steps of faith, trusting in his leadership and wisdom. Through Yeshua, we are more than conquerors, Romans 8:37. Let us then not miss our orders to go forward with boldness and confidence to position the land that is ours. Moshe demonstrated great faith to his people. We also need to encourage those who are fearful, reminding them of God's great power, love, and faithfulness. Say to those with fearful hearts, "Be strong, do not fear. Your God will come. He will come with vengeance, with divine retribution. He will come to save you." Isaiah 35:4. Today, as the people of Israel stand surrounded by the sea of hostile enemies, bombarded by the wave of terrorism, may all believers reach out to the Jewish people with words of faith and courage that God is not only our physical salvation, but also the spiritual salvation through Yeshua. He will fight our battles for us, and as we go forward, we can be at peace as we trust in him. You will bring them in and plant them on the mountain of the inheritance, the place, Lord, you made for your dwelling, the sanctuary, Lord, your hands establish. Exodus 15 and 17. Shabbat Shalom.